My name is John Anderson. Moved to this area a couple of years ago and had approached the chamber about how I could help them. I've spent my career as a consultant for the last 20-odd years, working mostly as a contract CFO for small and mid-sized businesses and helping them with strategies and planning and budgeting. So as I approached the chamber, Terry asked me, as this lockdown started, if I had advice for local businesses, and I had to be honest and say, I have no clue what to tell anybody. This is unprecedented times, and really not sure what direction anyone should go at this point. So we came up with the idea of let's go see how businesses are doing. Let's go talk to them, see how they're dealing with this, what their experience is, and just let them share with their fellow businesses what's happening with them. So we worked together and put together a list of questions and got out into the community and started talking with the business owners. And I want to say before we get into the responses, how impressed I was with the attitudes, with the resiliency, just how everyone was handling a very difficult time in their business. So as we set out to talk to the different businesses, one of the questions I wanted to know is how long they had been in business in the area. And most have been here quite some time. It's a very established community as far as the different businesses we talked to. Some were relatively new, but for the most part they've been through some things here. I also, when it came to the phase one where everything was locked down, what were they able to do? And for the most part, with a few exceptions, they weren't able to generate any income or very minimal. So, that was lost revenue that doesn't come back, that they had to deal with. And so many made the best of the situation in the sense that they spent time painting or working on infrastructure and just doing what they could do, not only to be productive, but also to keep some employees engaged. One of the concerns I had for businesses, of course, during the lockdown was cash flow and the ability to just stay afloat during that time period. It was encouraging to hear how vendors worked with different businesses, extending terms, delaying shipments of product that had been ordered before the lockdown started. It just seemed to be a real coming together of the supply chain to help each other out, which was terrific. As far as being able to get the goods and supplies needed, it seemed like for the most part everyone could get what they needed, albeit at times delayed. But for the most of the businesses out there were experiencing some price increases, in some areas significant price increases. Some reported that things seemed to be leveling out and coming back down, while in other areas it continued to increase, which was causing them to have to increase prices also. Because when it did come to cash flow and what they were able to do to generate any type of cash flow, there wasn't much there, but there was a lot of comments about how helpful the gift cards were from the chamber for their employees. The businesses, for the most part, were conserving their cash. So it seems like as a whole, again, a few exceptions here and there, but as a whole, the cash flow wasn't as big an issue as I expected to see given the lockdown. One of the things I wanted to find out was how they were dealing with their staffing during that lockdown period and as you reopened in phase two, what their experience was in that area. And although staffing is always a bit of a challenge in this area, it obviously has become much greater in the current environment. And the answers varied greatly, a lot based on industry and the type of employees that they were looking to hire. Some companies were able to keep their entire staff together using the PPP money. Those that didn't qualify for the PPP were obviously struggling a little more, having to let staff go for a period of time and then trying to go back out and recruit them back. And unfortunately, in a unique environment where you're somewhat competing against unemployment benefits to get them back, some are still struggling with that today, getting a full staffing and what they had to do there. But it was a very varied answer as far as a lot of the small businesses are family members, so their challenge was more just how can we create enough income for the group that we have to continue to support. Others, interestingly enough, found this as an opportunity to significantly upgrade their staff. They were forced to lay everyone off, and that does give a unique opportunity to a business to reassess how many people you have working for you, what you have them doing, the quality of the staff you have. And so some of the businesses have responded to me that they have a much better staff now than they had before this all hit. So it's a lot of varied answers in that area. It's greatly affected their hours that they can be open. It has affected their offerings as far as what they can offer. A lot of amenities have been reduced, and some of that's tied to the fact that they just can't get back to the staffing levels they were before. And then we started talking about, what has all this meant for their business as far as what they've had to change, and what this means for them going forward. And the obvious is following CDC guidelines as far as cleanliness, as far as masks, as far as plexiglass dividers, all those things. And most businesses have reported increased labor costs because of the additional cleaning. The changing of the workflow to help create social distancing among workers has been something they've had to do. And for the most part, as far as where the costs have been significant, it's not so much in product, it's not so much in sanitizers and stuff like that, as it is just pure labor to wipe everything down, to sanitize this, and to the amount of time it takes to prepare a room now compared to before just has increased labor cost. Common answer was 15-20%, which is pretty significant. I think one of my favorite answers was when I asked, has that had a significant impact on your cost? The response was, any cost right now is significant. So I think that was very telling. How is this affecting your business? A lot of folks went to a customer perspective, and it was interesting to see how much customers appreciate all the extra effort that everyone's going through. I think 6 weeks stuck at home makes you appreciate a lot of things more, and I think just that was one of the feedbacks I got, is everybody was so glad to be back, so glad their favorite restaurant had reopened or whatever, that there seemed to be a lot of appreciation for the efforts being made to be able to meet these guidelines and just be open again. There was a focus on marketing and coming out of, as we came out of phase 1 into phase 2 and reopening and letting everybody know we were here at a time when discounts weren't practical because of all the revenue that had been lost. So a lot of creative marketing taking place. The other thing you're seeing is sort of a unintended benefit of all this was a lot of businesses have been knowing they needed more of an online presence. They've been thinking about an online presence. Well, this obviously highlighted the need to have an online presence. And so I think what I heard from a lot of businesses is they were able to start generating income online for the first time. And that's something that will continue and be in addition to what they were doing before. One thing that seemed to be common among businesses is, again, less amenities, more self-service, and reducing number of hours due to the staffing issues as well as other requirements, and cutting back on the offering as a whole, cutting back on number of products, number of items on a menu, whatever, just kind of doing what you had to do to adapt to this new environment. The lockdown created a focus on efficiencies. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. There had to be we had to figure out how to do more with less. And that is carried over into a summer where I think everybody's had one of the best summers they've had in a long, long time, ever, I should say. And when you have that reduction in staffing that was forced upon them and continues to be a challenge for them, yet you're having demand that's more than you've ever had, that's a good combination for recouping what was lost during that lockdown and hopefully creating a formula for greater profitability going forward for all these businesses. There was great confidence in how 2020 was going to continue to be positive, continue to build. And I think everybody recognizes that being a drive-to destination for so many has been a great attribute for this area, and continues to be and will continue to be for the short-term future here. There's some anxiety as to a more macroeconomic level and for 2021 and what all of this happening in 2020 is going to mean for the economy going forward. So there's a little bit of concern there, but confidence that this area would be somewhat immune to it just because of what it is, and that is a drive-to destination for many people. It was one of the comments was you're seeing a reversal of the urbanization trend that has taken place, and I think that's reflected in the real estate market here. More and more people are trying to buy in more rural areas. I was pulled over by a guy just the other day while I was out hiking by my home, and he was looking at some property nearby and was grilling me on how many people would he see and how many people would he be around. So I was able to assure him that this is an area where social distancing is quite easy. So I think that's something that a trend that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. My favorite question was, if you could ask all the other business owners one question, what would it be? And I did get some humorous answers. I won't name names, but some were fun, like, could all the other business owners close earlier while I stay open late? But yeah, I think the most encouraging, satisfying response in general was everyone wanted to know how we could help each other more. How could all the businesses work together to refer to each other, to help support each other? What can each business do to help promote tourism? How can we collaborate to, make our microeconomy here stronger is kind of what came out of that. I think the recognition that if we can make our microeconomy stronger, that will make all businesses better. And so there seems to be a genuine desire to improve communication between businesses, to work together, to help build. It's kind of the rising tide lifts all ships, and that's what I got a sense of when I asked that question. It was about what can we as a business do to help other businesses, and what can they do to help us. I think there is some reason for cautious optimism. As I've said, this area is in a good position for what's to come, but I am concerned. The fact that over half the people that were laid off during the shutdown and I'm talking macroeconomics here, over half the people that were laid off during the shutdown have not been rehired. 57% of your large company CFOs are still bearish on what's coming. So there's some reason for concern of what's going to happen from an economic standpoint. I think there is going to be some a level of immunity to that in this local community because of what we are and what we present folks. But I think there is reason for caution. So, conserving cash, being prepared for an economic downturn that is always unpredictable how long they'll last, while also, making hay while the sun is shining, which it's doing right now in this area. So that would be my advice. My overall impression is I love the area we moved to. It was a real privilege for me to get out and meet these business owners. I was very impressed with the quality, with the attitudes, just overall the sense of community that exists here. I'm very optimistic, very bullish on this area and what can happen here, what has happened here. Quite frankly, it's a wonderful place to be, and every reason to be optimistic about the future.